Hello, and welcome to Transformation by Truth podcast, where the called become the chosen, and those who have been dedicated to serve the Most High receive the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, as we progress our quest for holiness, perfection, and everlasting life. My name is D.L. Anderson. I'll be your tour guide. Let's get started with today's lesson. Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here, and welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast in the quest for holiness, perfection, and everlasting life 2022, week 5. Today, we'll continue our redemption series, 2 weeks to examine the process by which we are saved. Now, today's podcast is Lecture B, a word of truth accounting of the redemption process, day 3. And the title of today's podcast is Breaking Down the Redemption Process. You are in Yahushua Messiah, who became for us wisdom, righteousness, holiness, and redemption. 1 Corinthians 1:30. Now, the Lecture B objectives are: discuss the 3 parts to the redemption process, reveal salvation as the beginning of redemption, reveal sanctification as the focus of redemption, and reveal holiness as the conclusion of redemption. Now, if you're in our virtual book club, this lecture references Chapter 3 of the Pinnacle of Holiness, Volume 1, Holiness is the Main Thing. Now, the first section in the podcast is the 3 parts to the redemption process. As you would expect from the prior lectures, there are 3 parts to the redemption process. This is in line with the parallel natures of transformation, redemption, and the conceptual model of all spiritual processes. Here's the question. What are the 3 parts to the conceptual module of every spiritual process? Here's a hint. You learned this in the lecture on the rich young ruler in week 3. The answer, the foundation, the focus, and the key. i.e., from the viewpoint of degrees, that would be the fundamental, the focal, and the critical degrees. Now, the 3 parts or degrees of the redemption process are salvation, sanctification, and holiness. Like redemption, these 3 parts are also divided into 3 parts, and we will discuss these in more detail in future lectures in this series. Let's now discuss the beginning of redemption. The beginning of the redemption process is salvation. However, this is not the model of full salvation we discussed in the series kickoff. Rather, it is the initial point of salvation, vis-a-vis the qualifying event that allows us to run the race of holiness. Here again, this speaks to the fact that salvation, like redemption, has 3 parts or phases. The first phase, as you would expect, is to prepare us for the arduous process of transformation that lies ahead. Now, a key facet of this preparation is separation. The model of separation is critical for many reasons. First and foremost, it is because you cannot be in the way of holiness and at the same time be engulfed in the world and the cares of this life. 2 Timothy 2:4-5 reads, "No one serving as a soldier gets involved in the affairs of this life in order to please only him who enlisted him as a soldier. And if anyone strives for a prize, he is not crowned unless he strives according to the rules. Luke 21:34-35 reads, and take heed to yourselves, lest your hearts be weighed down by gluttony and drunkenness and cares of this life, and that day come on you suddenly, for it shall come as a snare on all those dwelling on the face of all the earth. Watch then at all times and pray that you be counted worthy to escape all this about to take place and to stand before the Son of Adam. Now, in addition to the scriptural case for our separation, I would caution all to take this call seriously and never turn back on your commitment to the Father's will. Verily, the word of truth makes it very clear. If you are looking back, you are not fit for the kingdom of heaven. And if you should turn back, it will be worse for you in the end. Luke 9:57-58 reads, and it came to be, as they journeyed on the way, that someone said to him, Master, I shall follow you wherever you go. And Yahushua said to him, the foxes have holes, and the birds of the heaven nest, but the Son of Adam has nowhere to lay his head. And he said to another, follow me. But he said, Master, let me first go and bury my father. And Yahushua said to him, let the dead bury their own dead, but you go and announce the reign of Elohim. And another also said, Master, I shall follow you, but let me first say goodbye to those in my house. But Yahushua said to him, no one having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the reign of Elohim. 2 Peter 2:20 reads, for if, after they have escaped the defilements of the world through the knowledge of the Master and Savior, Yahushua Messiah, they are again entangled in them and overcome, the latter end is worse for them than the first. For it would have been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than having known it, to turn from the set apart command delivered unto them. Now, in order to avoid the fate reserved for those who turn back, make sure you remain focused on the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness. If you do, you will hardly find time to focus on anything else. And that, my friend, is where you want to be. Let's now discuss the focus of redemption. Now, the focus of the redemption process is sanctification. As you learned in the series dedicated to the set-apart spirit of Elohim, sanctification is a process, and it can only be accomplished via set-apartness. That is, cleansing yourself from the filthiness of the world, your flesh, and your spirit. 2 Corinthians 7:1 reads, having then these promises, beloved, let us cleanse ourselves from all filthiness of the flesh and spirit, perfecting holiness in the fear of Elohim. James 1:21-22 reads, therefore, put away all filthiness and overflow of evil, and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your souls, and become doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. Now, these verses not only strengthen the call for you to put away all filthiness of your flesh and your spirit, but it also tells you how. That is, by the implanted word of Elohim. Let's talk about it. Now, by definition, the implanted word of Elohim is a model of truth that confirms the Father plants the word of truth in the souls of everyone he has called. This implanting of truth then cleanses our spirit and our flesh as we walk in the truth, converting us into men and women who can confidently cast off the works of darkness as we bear the armor of light. Now, the implanting of truth is captured beautifully in Messiah's parable of the sower. Receive this word. Matthew 13, 3-4 reads, "And he spoke to them much in parables, saying, See, the sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some indeed fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. And others fell on rocky places where they did not have much soil, and immediately they sprang up because they had no depth of soil. But when the sun was up, they were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered. And others fell among thorns, and the thorns came up and choked them. And others fell on good soil and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear." Now, to confirm salvation and separation are a prerequisite for sanctification, I'll further analyze the seed that fell among thorns. Matthew 13:22 reads, "That, i.e., the seed sown among the thorns, is he who hears the word, and the cares of this world and the deceit of riches choke the word, and it becomes fruitless." This is precisely why redemption begins with separation, and you shifting your focus and your treasure to align with the Father's will. From there, you'll be ready to achieve the transformation that parallels the process of sanctification. Let's now discuss the conclusion of redemption. The conclusion of the redemption process is holiness. Again, as you learn during the series on the set-apart spirit of Elohim, holiness is a divine state you achieve once you are completely assimilated to the spiritual model of Yahushua Messiah. This assimilation is the equivalence of our perfection. And perfection, as you very well know by now, is the door that leads to everlasting life. This is precisely why the Spirit has led me to label this quest as the quest for holiness, making the focus more about holiness than any other spiritual process. It's because our ability to ascend to a divine state of holiness validates our mastery of every spiritual process. This includes salvation, sanctification, set-apartness, transformation, conversion, and assimilation. Likewise, holiness is the key that opens the door for us to receive every good gift the Father has in store for us in this life and in the life to come. That includes redemption, justification, perfection, resurrection, and everlasting life. This matter proves that holiness is, in fact, the broadest of the 5 highest peaks of scriptural theology. And every graphic the Spirit has led me to design on these 5 high peaks, holiness is always the largest and it's always in the center. Therefore, I implore you to never discount the commandment of our Creator, who saith, "Be ye holy, for I am holy." As you are seeing in this series, you cannot be redeemed apart from following the way of holiness. Now, here is the final word. Redemption is a process. Stay with it and trust the process. As you can clearly see, redemption is not an instantaneous event. It, like the way of holiness, is an elongated journey that will try you in a most fantastic way in order to transform you into a most fantastic being. And that is someone who the Father has declared is worthy to be redeemed. Now, here is today's assignment. Continue praying in the Spirit and ask the Spirit to prepare you for the word of truth I had to share in the upcoming lectures. For once again, we will be considering a great deal of uncommon knowledge. And here is what's next in this series. Today's podcast, we completed breaking down the redemption process. And tomorrow's podcast is Salvation, the Beginning of Transformation. Now, if you are a member and have questions, please click the Q&A box underneath the video player. Likewise, if you have comments you want to share with the group, please share those in the comment box located beneath the Q&A box. Now, if you're not a member and you have questions about today's podcast, feel free to contact us via our website at www.pinnacleofholiness.com and use the form on our contact page, and we will respond to you as soon as we can. And thank you for being with us today. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Remember to tune in with us every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And if you haven't already, visit us at www.pinnacleofholiness.com and make sure you sign up to join the quest for holiness, perfection, and everlasting life 2022.